You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
RSV treatment and schedule your RSV vaccine at VaxAssist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
The Gary Harris Show. You see him host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
The TGIF edition for this Friday, September 27, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris, live from Innisfree Iris Pub right here in beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And broadcasting live again this morning for my 2-hour show. Now, Innisfree doesn't open up until 11 a.m., so keep that in mind. But if you're out and about and you want to come hang out for a little bit, just slide in the side door. Now, they won't be able to serve you any food or beverages because of the simple fact that there are no servers here yet. But still, if you want to drop by and say hello, we will certainly, say hello to you. But getting ready for a big weekend of college football, the biggest game of the season with Alabama and Georgia coming up tomorrow night at 6:30. At Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And, again, looking forward to a big weekend. Looking forward to kicking it off here at beautiful Innisfree Irish Pub. All right, we got my main man, Chase Brumfield, back in the studio at Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. He's manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline at 205-342-9904. And, yes, we will be able to take those phone calls while I'm out here at Innisfree Irish Pub. And if you want to swing by 1925 University Boulevard, you know where it's at. Just right here on the edge of downtown, not far from campus. So looking forward to kind of getting the weekend cranked off here. Before we do anything else here on the show this morning, let me go ahead and let you know this first hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you, as always, by Alabama Credit Union. Member-owned and not-for-profit, it really is just a better way of banking. I encourage you to find out more about Alabama Credit Union by going to alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com, or stop by and see them at one of their many locations around the state of Alabama, including their main office right here in Tuscaloosa. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, here is the guest lineup for today at 9:30. Adam Amin, play-by-play broadcaster for Fox Sports, is going to join us here on the program to talk some NFL and Major League Baseball. Adam is one of the best in the business, and he is going to be checking in with us here at 9:30 this morning here on the program. He is on the call Sunday for Bears-Rams, and then he'll also be doing the National League Division Series on Fox for Major League Baseball. So can't wait to get Adam on at 9:30. Then at 10:30, it'll be Brett Pritchard with the Auburn Report. Tigers facing a game against Oklahoma, one that, quite frankly, they really need to win. They really need to win. You start out with 5 home games. You do not want to be looking at 2-3. 0-2 in the SEC, heading into an October stretch where you play 3 SEC road games. So a big one down on the Plains. We'll have the latest with Brett Pritchard. Also, we'll do our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. Remember, for the best in menswear and a one-of-a-kind Alabama football memorabilia collection, it's T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. We're going to do that at 10:30 while I'm interviewing Brett. We'll have the trivia question. You'll call in 205-342-9904, and If you get the answer right, then you'll be qualified. At the end of the show, we'll run that electronic roulette wheel. If you're the 13th caller, then obviously your number is 13. I think we had 24 or 5 callers last week, or qualifiers. And we're going to give away a print that it's on my social medias. If you want to see it, I've got it posted on my Twitter at Gary Harris _WVUA. You can see it there. It's also on my Gary Harris WVUA 23 Facebook page or on my personal Gary Harris Facebook page. And it is a beauty. As promised, we're going to give away Crimson Comeback 2017 National Champions, Alabama 26, Georgia 23 in overtime. This is a gorgeous print by Greg Gamble, full size, ready for framing. It's got Tua in the upper left corner preparing to make the throw. It's got Devontae in the upper right corner making the catch. It's got Saban in the middle holding the national championship trophy. And then it's got other players pictured throughout the print. Calvin Ridley. I see Damian Harris. I see Minkah Fitzpatrick. I see Jalen Hurts. I think that's, a couple other guys here. I can't see their numbers for sure on my phone, but beautiful, beautiful print. So you definitely want to, check this out, and you want to have an opportunity to win this gorgeous print with Bama football trivia coming up at 10:30. Also, my SEC point spread predictions. 6 games to pick this week. All of them are SEC versus SEC except for LSU. LSU is hosting South Alabama this Saturday night. Of course, some of these games, some of these teams are on bye. My picks so far, I'm 22-19-1 against the spread in the SEC. I went 8-1 the first week, then 3-6-1, then 5-8, and then last week 6-4. So we'll have that for you as well. As I said, phone lines are open on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. Also, high school football coming up tonight. We actually had one game last night. Fayette County hosted Winfield. Winfield won that one up in Fayette. But a lot of games coming up tonight. Football Friday, my television show, 10:30, 1 hour on WVUA 23. Plus, Wyatt Fulton will have the final scoreboard show on Tide, 100.9 FM and 12:30 AM WTBC tonight. Some of the top high school games we'll be keeping an eye on. The 8 Mile War, Gordo at Pickens County. That is going to be our WVUA 23 Football Friday game of the week. Also some others. Aliceville's at Demopolis, Bibb County at Northridge, Brookwood's at Chilton County, Chelsea at Paul Bryant. Let's see here. Pickens Academy hosts Holt. Holy Spirit hosts Hubbardsville. Hueytown travels here to Tuscaloosa to play Hillcrest. Lincoln's at Northside. This is not the entire schedule. Sipsey Valley's at Marbury. Sulligent at Hamilton. Central hosts Gardendale. Over around the Birmingham area, Thompson, 7A Power hosts Clay Chalkville, 6A Power. That ought to be a heck of a game. Hoover and Parker get together. That ought to be a heck of a game. So a big Friday night. Right now, Chase, if you got your ears on, let me bring you in here and get a couple thoughts from you on this big weekend that's coming up with former President Trump coming to town. Now, let me say this, and UA has put out all types of information, RollTide.com, you can get it. They want people in the stadium by 5 o'clock. I know the kickoff's not until a little bit after 6:30, but because of all the logistics involved with Donald Trump being here and all the security measures that have to be in place, it's going to be, it's not going to be like a regular game. So you want to get there early. You want to get in your seat and be ready to go. Same thing applies to us in the media. I'm going to get there much earlier than I normally do for a 6:30 game for the same reasons. Chase, are you pumped up for this big weekend straight ahead for college football, particularly Alabama and Georgia?
Man, am I. I'm excited just to see some great play. I think the one thing that stood out to me, and Barry talked about it earlier, Oklahoma, a bunch of their wide receivers are not playing. So,
yeah, tell me what I saw that going on in a post about that on Twitter. Give some info on that. What's going on there?
Yeah, so 5 players, 3 of them, their top wide receivers for the Sooners, are not playing. They're not listing why they're out, which is strange. I feel like they'll come up with more information as we get closer to the game. But yeah, they are very underwhelmed. With wide receivers, and especially when a lot of their play is throwing the ball. So if they can't throw to anybody, what is Oklahoma's offense going to look like against Auburn,
And you're starting a true freshman quarterback, too, making his first start. Yeah, this is concerning if you're Oklahoma. And like you said, with it not being – so they're just listed as out.
Correct.
So that one, it makes you wonder if there's more going on there than just injuries. But so they're going to be way down the list as far as their wide receivers are concerned, is what you're telling me.
Yep. And everybody is watching Hugh Freeze. And somehow, if Hugh Freeze loses this game, I do believe his seat will get hotter and hotter hotter. So look out.
Listen, I talked to a couple people, and we'll have Brett on 10:30. I talked to a couple people this week who said, nothing's going to happen after this game, obviously, but they called this a must-win for Hugh Freeze. I just said he needs to win this game because if he doesn't, as you said, the heat is going to be turned up to the point that it's going to be real, and he's going to be feeling it, and he's going to have to, go on the road in October with a 2-3 record overall and 0-2 in the SEC. I mean, just to be honest, if they don't win this game tomorrow afternoon, the season's almost shot. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I mean, that's just the way it is. So, but now you think their chances are certainly going to be increased by the fact that, Oklahoma's so short on wide receivers. That's an issue. There's no other way around it. But anyway, we're off and running. I'm live here at Innisfree Irish Pub as part of Fridays at the Free. My show until 11 a.m., and then they open at 11 for lunch. You want to get by and visit and kick off the football weekend with that Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Also, you can order off the regular menu, all of their great cocktails, and incredible list of beers, both in the bottle and on draft here at Innisfree Irish Pub. Let's get to our break, and when we come back, wide open for phone calls. I'd love to hear from you, what you think about this Alabama-Georgia game and more. 205-342-9904 is the number. Give us a call on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. Adam Amin from Fox Sports coming up at 9:30. I'm live at Innisfree Irish Pub. We'll be right back after this.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa Thread.
Good Friday morning. There's a full slate of high school football action tonight. Central hosts Gardendale. Brookwood travels to Chilton County. And Demopolis welcomes Aliceville. Hillcrest is home to Hueytown. Holy Spirit gets a visit from Hubbardville. Sipsey Valley travels to Marbury. Northridge hosts Bibb County. Northside welcomes Lincoln. Paul Bragg gets a visit from Chelsea. Holt is at Pickens Academy. And Gordo travels across the county to their cross-county rival Pickens County. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a team.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
Experience the wow factor. Contact Shoot Masonry and Specialties at 205-887-3807 today and unleash your home's full potential.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages.
This weekend, Fridays at the Free, every Friday during football season with Tide 100.9 and Innisfree Irish Pub, located at 1925 University Boulevard, downtown.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions in both dining rooms, at the bar and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partly sunny and windy today. A small chance of a shower this afternoon or tonight. The high today 74, tonight's low 63. For tomorrow, a dry day, partly sunny, the high 78. Sunday, the sky mostly sunny, the high 81. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show. Goal line in, touchdown, Alabama! Your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. We got that great weekend music to get you fired up on the TGIF edition of the program. A little Wet Willie right there. One of our favorites here on the Friday edition of the program. I'm live at Industry Irish Pub. All right, SEC football schedule, and I'll be giving my point spread picks later on in the show, toward the end of the show. But let me run the schedule down for you with the TV times and everything you need to know about SEC football tomorrow. It's going to start off at 11 a.m. on ABC. Ole Miss hosting Kentucky. Then at 2:30, as we mentioned, number 21 Oklahoma at Auburn. That one is on ABC as well. At 2:30, Arkansas and Texas A&M will play at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. That one is on ESPN. 3:15, Mississippi State is at number 1 Texas. And Texas looking to roll over Mississippi State, which so far to this point, I think Mississippi State's been the worst team in the SEC. You know, it'd be a battle, I guess, between, you know, although Vanderbilt's looked pretty good, I still think you'd say probably Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Florida. And I'd give the nod to Mississippi State, and Texas probably has been the best team. So kind of a mismatch right there on paper. And then, of course, tomorrow night, shortly after 6:30, the big one, Georgia, number 2 in the AP poll. They are number 1 in the coaches poll. At number 4, Alabama. ABC will have that one, of course, game day here tomorrow as well. All right, let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904. We're going to lead off with Roland, and then we'll get to Alan. Good morning, Roland.
Hey, Gary. How you doing this morning?
Doing great, buddy. Thank you.
I am excited about this weekend. I can't wait for tomorrow. I mean, it's just a great day of football altogether, and then it topped off Alabama and Georgia. It don't get no better than that, Gary. And, you know, have you thought about who might be the stars of the game? I would really love to see Justin Haynes, you know, have a big game since he's from Georgia and, you know, his legacy over there and all that. But, you know, I take the win any way I can, any player having great games. But I like to see Justin, you know, because I think he's a heck of a back. And I like to see him have a great game. And also, I just want to shout out to Coach Oates and the basketball team. What a job that guy has done. I mean, he just keeps amazing me with what he's doing at Alabama as far as winning and recruiting and all that. I mean, whoever would have thought without 3 top 20 players on campus at the same time in recruiting, you know. And I don't know if we'll get any of them, but I think we might get one of them. But it's just an amazing job by Coach Oates, and I'm so excited for basketball coming up here real soon. I just want to get your take on you know, both things.
Yeah, the same. With Coach Oates and the 3 recruits in this weekend, including the number 1 player in the country. They started practice this week. They scrimmaged yesterday. Good-looking team. Chris Youngblood, there is one disappointing piece of news. The transfer from South Florida, who many felt like would be a starter, he had an ankle issue and had to have surgery on it, and is probably going to miss a good portion of the pre-conference schedule. They're going to try to get him back as quick as they can. But that's disappointing because he's a really good player. But and also Darion Reed has a hand. It's not nearly as serious. It's you know, he'll be back playing pretty shortly. Yeah, big recruiting weekend ahead. And as far as Justice Haynes is concerned, you need to be able to run the football. I mean, that's just the way it is in these big games. You need to be able to run the football if you're going to be able to throw it successfully. And he and Jam Miller both, I think, are going to be major pieces of the game plan. Like you, I really like Jam Miller too. You're right. He is a Georgia legacy. His dad played there. He's from the state of Georgia. And it's going to be a big game for him, just like it was last year when he played Georgia in the SEC championship game. And I do think he has the potential to have a nice game. He is a really good downhill runner, has great vision, reminds me a little bit of Mark Ingram, the way he sees things and makes the right cuts. And I think that he could have a big game. And the running backs need to play well for Alabama's offense to hit its stride tomorrow. You got a score prediction for me, Roland?
Yeah, 27-23 Alabama.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Okay, Gary. Have a good one.
All right, we're going to keep it rolling. Let's get to Alan out there on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. Good morning, Alan.
Hey, Gary. How you doing?
Doing great, man.
Enjoy the show. Listen, I don't get your take on our secondary. A couple games a couple times really got beat. Just to happen to be overthrown. Do you think that's going to catch up with us somebody like tomorrow night or on into the season? What's your take on think any changes to be made or what?
I hope they can get it fixed because I don't think the times that they've gotten let people get behind them that it's been a physical issue. In other words, the talent is not the problem. It's either been poor technique or where they didn't get where they were supposed to be when they were supposed to be there, or there was a flaw in coverage in regards to them not doing what they were supposed to be doing in that particular coverage. I know against South Florida, a couple of times they got what I call caught flat-footed, walked up on the line of scrimmage and let the guy get a free release, and you just can't do that. And so I think they're working hard on that. I like the secondary in terms of the talent. I like the secondary in terms of the depth. They got a lot of different guys that they're plugging in back there, which I like. To answer your question, I thought the same thing. In the South Florida game, I said there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks on their schedule that are going to make those throws. Yep. And the same thing really in the Wisconsin game, particularly the guy, he had the guy open for the touchdown there right before halftime, and he overthrew him. And then there was another time that he had a guy running pretty much wide open and missed him. So, yeah, those are things you got to correct. But, I trust the talent. I trust the coaching staff. I do think that inexperience has been a factor when you're, playing a lot of young guys. Some of them are true freshmen. And when that's the case, there's going to be some growing pains. But you hope now with 3 games under your belt, plus a bye week, that you get it all corrected and fixed, and tomorrow night you don't have, you don't have any bust, or you don't have any poor technique and guys not, being in the right coverage, and that they stick to those guys and you make Georgia earn everything they get. I feel pretty good about the secondary.
Well, good. Yeah, that's all I need. I just want to get somebody I've seen the same thing. But listen, I enjoy your show and I listen pretty regularly.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate you, man. Call back anytime, okay? Hey, give me a score prediction real quick while I got you. Give me a score prediction.
I'll take Alabama 24-21.
24-21 Bama. Thank you, buddy.
Okay, bye-bye.
Appreciate you. All right, it is 9:26 here on the Gary Harris Show. We got a couple more minutes before we get to the break and come back with Adam Amin from Fox Sports. And he did a lot of college football when he was at ESPN. Doesn't do college football anymore, but I'll still get his take and thoughts on this big Georgia-Alabama game in addition to NFL and Major League Baseball. We're going to do that in the next segment. Last night, Bama soccer was in action at home, and they got another tie, which is a lot better than a loss. Not as good as a win. They had got a tie with Tennessee, and then last night, a 1-1 tie with Missouri at home. So it makes it a little bit disappointing because when you're at home, you'd like to, and they had a lot of shots on goal. They had a lot of good offense. They just, had problems getting it in the net, but they did get the 1 goal to get the tie against Missouri, and Missouri actually had scored the first goal, so Alabama came back to get a tie in that game last night. All right, we're going to get to the break, and before we do, I want to remind you the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, 2300 13th Street downtown, still until the end of the month, a few more days, no joining fee. Until the end of September. So get by, just sign up, start paying your dues, and get in there at the Y. Also 10% off.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, Tax Pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
So great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to now.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour specials.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, Tax Pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
Riverside Feed, Adams Heating and Cooling, Tuscaloosa Tractor, Cypress Supply, and Anders Hardware. Complete contest rules online at TuscaloosaThread.com.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Broadcasting live this morning from Innisfree Irish Pub, beautiful downtown Tuscaloosa, just on the edge of downtown, not far from campus. You know where it's at on University Boulevard. They don't open until 11. But again, if you're out and about and you want to slide in the side door, you can come hang out with me for a little bit. Now, you cannot get served until 11 because servers are not in yet. But you can come hang out for a few minutes anyway. And by 11, that Lucky Lunch Meeting 3 is going to be ready to go. The bar will be up and running and getting ready for a big football Saturday. Let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, and that's where I find my friend Adam Amin, one of the best in the business. Fox Sports play-by-play. He is going to be on the call on Sunday for Bears Rams, along with Mark Sanchez and Christina P. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Gary. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. Fired up for a big weekend here, which I'll ask you about in a few. Let's start with last night. A couple of teams in the NFC East badly in need of a win, particularly the Cowboys with all the pressure that's on them after the two poor performances against the run on defense. And, buddy, I was shocked last night. I didn't get to watch much of it, but I was tracking it. They held up against the run, and the Giants had plenty of opportunities but kicked a lot of field goals, and the Cowboys get a big 20-15 win on the road. And for the Giants, a disappointing loss, one of those kind of woulda, coulda, and shoulda games.
Yeah, and again, they had opportunities, like you said, and they made stops, too. They forced a couple of long field goal attempts from Dallas, had kept the score at bay. They kept the score a little bit closer. I mean, this was still a game down to the wire. Even when Auburn missed that late field goal, like, this was a game. So I think there's still significant issues plaguing these teams, and Dallas obviously is at the forefront of it, but it was their best performance since week one, since they had a good game against Cleveland. This was their cleanest offensive game. I thought Prescott looked very good. I thought CeeDee Lamb played the way CeeDee Lamb should and is expected to play, making explosive plays, yards after the catch. And they made the defensive stops when they needed to. They kept that running game in check. I know Neighbors getting hurt for New York is tough because he is right now, I think, their best player on the offensive side of the ball. But Dallas has things that they still need to clean up. There has to be a little bit more consistency. I think their rush defense, yes, it's been terrible the first handful of games. It was better against the Giants team that's still trying to find some rhythm in their run game. I don't think this is completely reflective on where they're at coaching-wise and where they're at team-wise, where they're at in terms of being a competitor in that division. Because as we've seen, Washington is going to make some noise going forward. Philadelphia is still a quality team, even though they've had some real lapses in the early part of the season. And the Giants have the potential to play spoiler for a lot of teams as the season goes on. I'm not certain that the Giants are going to be a super impactful team in the playoff chase. 1-3 teams the last 2 years have not been involved come postseason time. Teams that start off 1-3 in that first quarter of the season, they're not typically in the mix once we get to the playoffs. But I feel like Dallas still has a lot of things to clean up. But this was a good start. This was a good sign. It's a good bounce back after a pretty ugly 2-game losing streak where they were giving up a lot of points. This is a nice improvement against a team that they probably should have beaten as it.
Adam, you've got a home game this week for you, living in Chicago with the Rams at the Bears. And last week, you had Rams 49ers. What a football game. Rams came back and won it, or you could say the 49ers let it get away. No McCaffrey, obviously. Are you concerned about the 49ers going forward?
I am a little bit. I think it has less to do with McCaffrey, because I think when these guys all get back, when McCaffrey's back, when Kittle's back, when Samuel's back, altogether they're a very good offensive team. So they have a lot of runway. The Cardinals are very up and down in that division. The Rams are dealing with a lot of the same issues up and down their offense with the offensive line injuries, wide receiver injuries to Nakua and Kupp. So they've got some issues right now as well. And I think the big factor for San Francisco is when they're healthy, are they still getting clean play on the offensive side of the ball? Because I think that's been their biggest issue outside of the injuries themselves. Like a lot of drop passes, right? Their backups, I know, were responsible for a lot of that. But the lack of quality plays from a team that was touted as being one of the deepest in the NFL. And I think what we saw is depth only takes you so far when your star players are so relied upon to produce for you. I think Brock Purdy is a great quarterback. I still haven't seen anything that tells me otherwise, because I thought he played with all those injuries on his offense. He played a great game. He made great decisions. He had one miscue where he had his, I think it was his right, I can't remember if it was his right or left tackle get beat off the edge, and he got hit for, a forced fumble and a strip sack. And other than that, I thought he played an exceptional game. He did everything he possibly could. Juwan Jennings had a great game. But Brandon Ayuk's got to play better when he is the lead guy. He spent all this time in the offseason holding out in the preseason. He gets the money that he was probably going to get. Like, he got a contract that was pretty similar to what he ended up getting. And now, again, am I going to, chastise a player for trying to get as much money as possible? No, of course not. You got to do what you got to do in this league. So I appreciate that. But what it's now turned into is a lack of rhythm, very little chemistry out of the gate. Brock Purdy even told us last week, it's hard to get chemistry back. I kind of thought it would just happen. I thought we'd just pick up where we left off from a year ago. And that's not what happened. You have to get into a rhythm. So I do think as the season wears on, as they get healthier, that rhythm will come back. But I think in these next couple of weeks, when they have, a game against Arizona, I think they're playing Green Bay, there's going to be some tough games for this group. They need to clean things up from the second and third spots in their depth chart, but I think they're going to be fine.
You talk often about the very small margin for error in the National Football League, but the Bengals' margin for error is running out quickly. They're 0-3. Now, they're a good team. Anybody can see that. But they're 0-3, and suddenly they go to a Carolina team that Andy Dalton just lit it up against the Raiders. Got to start winning some games. You dig too big a hole too early, and it won't matter. What do you make of the Bengals not being able to pull these games out?
I think a lot of it has to do with, we use the word depth. I think depth is a problem for them, whether it's on the offensive line where they've dealt with a handful of injuries since the preseason. I think it has a lot to do with their depth on defense. They've lost some players in the secondary. We know that Jamar Chase was in and out of the preseason, that he was trying to negotiate a larger contract. And again, just as the Ayuk situation has played out, rhythm is a hard thing to come by. You can take that for granted. It's like, well, no, that's my LSU teammate, Joe Burrow. That's my guy. Of course we're going to be fine. But when you're in the confines of structure, during the preseason when everybody needs to be involved and everybody's getting reps and you don't get those same reps that you're used to getting. Rhythm is a hard thing to come by in this league, and that's a great point that you made there about, you and I always chat about the margin for error. The games are sliver thin in terms of which direction they can go on any given week in the NFL. Everybody's talented. So it is about chemistry and rhythm and the little nuanced things that make Chase and Burrow a great duo. We saw some of those things pop back up. And again, I think they'll be better as the year goes on because we saw some of those things on Monday night against Washington. But Carolina's playing some interesting football right now. That was a heck of a move to get Andy Dalton back in the mix. I mean, he is who I say most backup quarterbacks are now at this point in their careers. Again, Andy Dalton has been an incredible starter for a long time. Obviously, most of his career with Cincinnati and took them to some newer heights until Burrow got there. I think there's something to be said about a quality backup like Andy Dalton, who's got all this experience. He can take you a little further than other backups can. I think there's a shelf life in a single season for backup quarterbacks. Like a Josh Dobbs can give you 3 or 4 good starts and give you a chance to win those games. I think a Sam Darnold, who's playing great football for Minnesota right now, unless he's ready to take that Geno Smith type jump, he's the type of player that can probably give you 7 or 8 good starts and give you a chance to be in all those games until he gets a little bit more exposed. I think Andy Dalton can probably give you right around there 7 to 10 good quality starts to keep Carolina competitive. Now, the rest of that roster, are they good enough? We'll see. But the point about Cincinnati is very apt. Like, you have to clean things up. You have a schedule that's a little bit softer coming up. I think these are games that if you don't win, you pretty much are playing for next season and a draft pick.
On the flip side, and I guess this is why the Chiefs are the Chiefs, they're 3-0, but you could easily argue that a play in all 3 of those games goes the other way, and they're 0-3. But whether they made the plays or the other team didn't, in the Falcons' case Sunday night, Falcons clearly had opportunities there at the end of the game and didn't get it done. But the Chiefs are 3-0, and at the end of the day, it's a bottom line business in this league. And Kansas City, we'll get to Buffalo in a moment, but Kansas City's doing what they're supposed to do, I guess, and coming out and winning games, although they have not been maybe as impressive as a lot of people thought that they would be.
Yeah, I think, I don't have the same rhythm arguments for them. I don't give them the same benefit of that doubt. They're a well-oiled machine, certainly at this point in their construction, right? The way they have been, the continuity that they've had for the most part with a lot of their players. So they're still, the same, not the exact same, but the same Chiefs. You still have your stars. You still have arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. You got arguably the best defensive lineman in the NFL. You've got a pretty good secondary. You got pretty good guys on your defense. But I think that's what it comes down to. They've made plays in big spots, right? Like the Spagnuolo calls against Atlanta late in the game, against Baltimore late in the game, against Cincinnati especially late in the game when they won that game in improbable fashion. Like, there's a lot that comes with continuity. And I think the things that they've used to win games, whether it's understanding what Spagnuolo wants and what they've adjusted to over the course of 3.5 quarters in a game and making the right call, or Mahomes finding the right guy at the end of the game to move the chains and get into field goal range. You can make, I know there are fans out there that make the argument, well, they get all the penalty flags. That's somewhat true, but I've seen some numbers that say, well, Cincinnati gets a lot of those calls late in games as well. Like Joe Burrow gets a lot of those calls late in games too. So, the elite level quarterbacks are given the benefit of the doubt. And I think they use that to their advantage. And yeah, you're right. One play turns and, those could be different results. They could be 1-2. They could be 2-1. They could be 0-3. But they're the ones that made the play late in the game. And I think that has to be reflective of the continuity of the kind of high achieving excellence that they've put together over a long period of time.
Just 3 games in, but to me, the Bills have been the most impressive team so far. I mean, they're just mudholing people. And, Stephon Diggs, as talented as he is, it seems to me like it's addition by subtraction. I don't know what happened with him and Josh Allen, but somewhere along the line, it just quit working. What do you make of the Bills? I mean, they've been the bridesmaids for so long, but they have really been a juggernaut so far early this season.
The offense looks great, especially against Jacksonville the other night. I'm not sure. I mean, I saw them in the preseason, and I thought, I wonder how this offense is going to look, because you don't have, in my estimation, they didn't have like the elite receiver. Now, I know they drafted Keon Coleman, whom I'm a big fan of, and he's made some nice plays, got a touchdown already. They're not throwing bombs. I think the longest pass I saw the other day, I think the longest completion for Josh Allen is like 30 yards or like 35 yards. So it's not as if they're launching the ball downfield and getting all these yards at the catch. They're not there yet, which is kind of a scary thought, because I think Khalil Shakir, who's been a really good slot guy, he's been their leading receiver. I think they've done a lot with James Cook out of the backfield, who's been, not shockingly, very impactful, just like he was a year ago. He's got a great connection with Dalton Kincaid, who's a relatively new player in this league. Dawson Knox used to be his main tight end guy. I think Dalton Kincaid has stepped into that role, and then Coleman is out there learning on the job. So I appreciate the patience that they've played with in the early part of this season. Remember, they've got different. Is it Joe Brady, I think, calling the plays now, right? If I'm not mistaken, or I can't remember off the top of my head. They had to change offensive coordinators. Remember, they fired Ken Dorsey at one point. Mm-hmm. I think they've done a really nice job of not overloading. Not Allen. Allen can handle all this, but I think they've done a really nice job of not overloading the rest of their young offense and kind of letting Allen guide these guys into making the basic plays early. And when you do little things well and your defense plays well, because I don't want to take anything away from their defense the last 2 weeks in particular, I think they've played very, very well. When you make good plays on defense, when you play sound football, and then Josh Allen is playing at, I think he's completed like 75% of his passes. So it's not as if they're doing a ton of deep ball stuff. They're letting these guys be athletes, make catches in space. It's very college-like. And I do think as the year goes on, this will probably be the best offense in the NFL, because they're doing all the little things really well now, which bodes well once you get to the end of the season, or maybe you start playing some lesser competition in certain weeks. On the other side of the ball, when you get into some divisional games where you've now played a team on the second time and you have to make adjustments, they'll have a larger playbook. They'll have a larger menu of options to go to on offense. And like I said, I think they played really well defensively for the last two games in particular. So they're going to be in great shape. And I would agree with you. I think this is a team to keep an eye out for when we get deeper into the postseason.
They're at the Ravens on Sunday night. Who do you like in that one?
Man, it's a really good contest, right? It's a really good matchup. Is this the game where Buffalo's defense, has some trouble holding up? Because I think Baltimore is, they can get after you. There's really good stuff there. I think Jackson's running ability is something that could give Buffalo a problem. I think that's what Kyler Murray had in week one. His ability to scramble and keep plays alive. I loved how Derrick Henry has been used the last couple of weeks. Remember, you and I talked about it week one, and they kind of got away from him. I think they've used him much, much better, in particular against Dallas last week. I think this is going to be a fun game. I looked at the line, and Baltimore is the home team, if I'm not mistaken, for this one. I think the line was pretty low. So I feel like this is kind of one of those pick'em games, but I'm leaning towards Baltimore just because I think they need this. I think their running game played much better last week, and I think it comes down to making key plays. I think their defense has a lot to do with how they can help stop Josh Allen if they can contain him, but I feel like Baltimore is ready for a bounce-back game at home.
Steelers are 3-0 with the former Bear, Justin Fields. Adam, is it safe to assume that Justin Fields is now the Steelers quarterback, regardless of what happens with Russell Wilson?
It should be. I mean, now listen, this is a 3-0 start. If he starts to struggle midway through the season, then yeah, maybe you consider making a change like any other team would, but I think he's earned the right to have a bad game. I think maybe that's the best way to put it. If they lose a game, it shouldn't be if they lose, then Fields gets pulled out of there, which I think that's what you're asking. It's if he doesn't perform, if they don't win their next two games,
do you automatically get pulled? I don't know if that's the case. So I feel like Justin's kind of earned the job. But again, Mike Tomlin has kind of kept it vague. He's probably in that same mode of, hey, I'm going to roll with the hot hand and give him a little bit of leeway as he earns it. And so far he's earned it. And their defense obviously has played really well. And TJ Watt is still TJ Watt. And they've got playmakers on every level of that defense. I think he's earned the right to have a bad game. And I think that's the line of thinking that Mike Tomlin is going with right now as well. But listen, if they end up losing 4 out of 6, and now you're, 5-4, and now you have to make some considerations, then yeah, maybe you see a change at some point in the season to Russell Wilson. But I think Justin Fields has done a great job running with this opportunity. You and I always said that if Justin Fields and Arthur Smith were a team, a tandem in Atlanta, then that Atlanta team with all the talent that they had last year on both sides of the ball would have been a playoff team. And now these guys are getting an opportunity to run together in Pittsburgh, and I think Arthur Smith has done a great job of putting Fields in a position. And listen, that's the key. That's the key with coaching. That's what coaching does. The talent has to be there, which I've contended since I've watched Justin's first year in Chicago. The talent was always there. It's the matter of coaching and play calling, and I think they've done a really good job with it in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they've come together. Unfortunately for Falcons fans, it's in Pittsburgh. In the NFC, the Vikings are 0-3. One thing we're seeing about these highly drafted quarterbacks, you don't get drafted as high as Sam Darnold did and some of these other guys unless you got talent. And now we're seeing with the short leash on quarterbacks, if you hang around the league, you may get another opportunity or a third or a fourth or fifth opportunity. And for Darnold, it's come with the Vikings. When J.J. McCarthy went down, they're 3-0, and he has looked fabulous. What do you make of Darnold and the Vikings so far?
Man, I had a lot more questions about their defense. I think their defense has played exceptionally well. I had questions about their offense outside of Jefferson, and they've answered it, man. I've been really impressed. Now, I still maintain that being on the bench as long as Darnold has been, right? And he's kind of had spot duty, whether it was in San Francisco last year, whether it's in Carolina a couple of seasons ago. When you're in spot duty for a little while, it's hard to get back into a rhythm of being a starting quarterback in the NFL. And when you are a quote-unquote backup, and I would call Sam Darnold still a backup QB. I think that's fair based off the last few seasons. The exposure level is what gets to backup quarterbacks, because defensive coordinators, when you see Patrick Mahomes have a bad game, coordinators now think, well, let's do the thing. Let's see the things that he did poorly in the last game and try to kind of turn our game plan to try to expose those things. The difference is with somebody like Mahomes or an Allen, these guys have such a wide skill set and such impressive improvisational ability that they can make plays when defensive coordinators try to take away their skill set. With Sam Darnold, he doesn't have as wide of a skill set as some of those guys. So in years past, when he's been in bad situations, let's say with the Jets, he had a bad offensive line, he didn't have great skill guys around him, the play calling wasn't particularly good, you saw him get exposed very fast. So right, Gary, that these guys have talent. You don't get to be the number 3 pick and the first round pick unless you have a significant amount of talent, and he does. So now with the right coaching, right play calling, obviously arguably the best receiver, but one of the best receivers in the NFL, and a pretty good run game. Let's not forget what the running game has done so far this year as well with Aaron Jones. He is getting a much better opportunity to not be exposed. Now, when will he be exposed is the question, and I'm only asking that question based off the track record. I wouldn't be asking this if he didn't have that track record. So for somebody like Sam, who seemingly is getting into a good rhythm really fast, when does that deterioration come in? When does that start to take place? Is it 7 games in? Is it 9 games in? Is he able to go through a whole season like Geno Smith did because he had great coaching and play calling around him and great talent around him? Maybe this is another Geno Smith Jets to a valley to getting back to a peak in your career. Maybe it's one of those situations again. I don't doubt that it can be, but I also know that Sam's skill set isn't as wide ranging as some of the other quarterbacks that are able to get past some of the things that defensive coordinators are wanting to expose. So I think he's got another good 4 starts in him. And then when you get into divisional play, that's when things start to get a little bit tough.
That's right. I've gone over, as always. Chase, if you don't mind, double up these breaks because I got just a couple more quick ones for Adam. Baseball, you'll be working the National League Divisional Series, so you're prepping there as well as your NFL work. Braves and Mets, this has caused a little bit of a firestorm in that we knew Helene was coming. Both teams had a bye week on Monday. MLB chose not to play. They went ahead and played the game as scheduled on Tuesday, then canceled the Wednesday and Thursday games, and now they've got a doubleheader back in Atlanta on Monday, the day before the playoffs start. It does seem like, Adam, that this could have been handled differently. I know the Mets fans are really ticked off, and I don't blame them. I would be too. Could have anything been done differently, or is it just the way it was the Braves home series and they chose not to move the games up or try to work around the storm? What happened there?
I think it was David O'Brien, who's been a longtime beat writer for the Braves. I think he had mentioned that had they played one game when they had an opportunity to and maybe moved another game time up, then they could have avoided this situation completely. The other way they can avoid this situation is if the Mets just win. If they win out and the Diamondbacks clinch the other spot, obviously, then we don't even have to concern ourselves with those 2 games on Monday potentially. But, this could have been avoided. I think, the general narrative is that Rob Manfred has some, sometimes lacks foresight on situations like this. And I know this is a much more fluid sport because of the weather more than anything else. But listen, we see this in football all the time. Is it a little bit easier in football? Of course, because you have days where you're not playing games that you can insert games in. Not necessarily the case in baseball. So I am sympathetic to that. I also think there could be a little bit more foresight from the league office. All that being said, if the Mets do what, they have been doing, I think they're in Milwaukee this weekend with a huge series on tap. The Diamondbacks with San Diego coming this weekend, which is a massive series. The Padres already kind of know where they're going to be, but they would like to have that top wildcard spot. The Dodgers won the division last night, but the Padres are already into the playoffs. So they're going to face either, the Diamondbacks, the Braves, or the Mets, they know, in the next round or the first round. I wonder what the mentality is going to be. Arizona still needs these games. The Mets have a huge series. The Braves obviously have a huge series to close out the season. It may end up being a moot point anyway, but I think this could have been avoided in a couple of different ways, or at least mitigated. It could have been made a little bit easier.
And lastly, your college football days, a little bit behind you, although it wouldn't shock me if it's somewhere along the line I pop up and see you doing a college game on Fox. But your pick for Alabama and Georgia tomorrow night.
Man, what a great game. Right. What a great early season game that we're fortunate enough to watch. Man, I really like Alabama in this game. I like them being at home. I like how Milroe played last season. I feel like they have a real opportunity to kind of stamp their mark at this point in the season. There's so many stars in this game. I think this is a major opportunity for Kalen DeBoer. I think Georgia might be the more talented team top to bottom. I think this is a real opportunity for Alabama to hang with, the team that's probably been the cream of the crop in the SEC for, the last 2 seasons overall. This is a great game. I'm picking Alabama at home. I like where Alabama's at. I like the start I've seen from their offense. And I think Georgia has more issues offensively than maybe we realized coming into the season. Obviously, that happens when you lose as much talent as they do year in and year out.
Adam, awesome stuff, man. We appreciate you on the call Sunday, noon Central for Rams and Bears. Thank you, my friend.
You got it, buddy.
All right, it's 9:57, and Chase is working with me since I went way over. We're going to go ahead and close out this first hour right now. He's going to double up the break, so when we come back on the other side, we'll be into hour number 2. This hour has been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. I'm live at Innisfree Irish Pub, part of Fridays at the Free, getting ready for a big football weekend. They open at 11 for that Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special and a lot of other good things happening at Innisfree. Like I said, if you slide by and want to come in the side door and hang out with me, we can probably get you in. We'll be back with hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM. WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
On the
The next Inside the Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Monday. We'll look back at the Alabama-Georgia game. We'll find out, does Georgia have 43 in a row there? Did Alabama break the streak? We'll talk to Max Howell at 7:30. Also in the second hour, we'll talk with Doug Bell. We'll go with the President Cup with Doug. We'll also take your phone calls throughout the show.
Inside the Locker Room, weekdays 7 to 9 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monty Bolaños.
Week 4 of the NFL kicked off with Thursday Night Football as the Cowboys beat the Giants 20-15, but Cowboys star linebacker Michael Parsons was carted off the field with an ankle injury. He will have an MRI later today. Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson told reporters that tight end Evan Ingram is doubtful to play Sunday due to his hamstring injury, but that he could return in Week 5. And after missing Week 3 with a hamstring injury, 49ers tight end George Kittle says he's feeling fantastic ahead of Sunday's matchup against the Patriots. Thursday in baseball, the Yankees beat the Orioles 10-1 to capture the AL East title. Aaron Judge hit his 58th homer of the season in the win. The Dodgers won the NL West title with a 7-2 win over the Padres. It was their 11th division title in the last 12 years. And the Twins lost to the Marlins 8-6 in 13 innings. Minnesota is now 3 games back of both Detroit and Kansas City with 3 games left for the final wildcard spot in the American League.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for...
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret? With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going... So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/try to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/try.
On select appliances with fall savings at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing about September 26th through October 16th. U.S. only. See store online for details. Visit jdpower.com/awards for more details.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partly sunny and windy today. A small chance of a shower this afternoon or tonight. The high today 74. Tonight's low 63. For tomorrow, a dry day. Partly sunny. The high 78. Sunday, the sky mostly sunny. The high 81. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back in to hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show right here on Tide 100.9 FM at 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports. I'm part of Fridays at the Free. I'm live at Innisfree Irish Pub, downtown Tuscaloosa, on the edge of downtown, not far from campus, right here on University Boulevard. And it is a big Friday at the Free because not only am I here, before we're even open, going to open up at 11 a.m. Wyatt Fulton will be here. A lot of other shows are coming in as well. And Trip Rogers from Innisfree joins me to talk about this exciting weekend. And I know one thing about Innisfree. Ready or not, well, I shouldn't say ready. You're always ready. No matter how big it gets, you guys can handle it.
Yeah, we've been planning all week for this one. Fortunately, the weather cooperated with us, not so much with the state of Georgia and Florida. I haven't heard any bad reports yet. I know the weather was bad, but I think for the most part,
get over here okay.
Everyone was good. I'm glad everyone stayed safe and, hopefully they can get here for the game this weekend, cause we love to host people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we spent all week getting ready, and hopefully we're ready. We'll have plenty of ice, so we'll never run out of that.
Nobody does it better than Innisfree. And as I said, of course, we're excited to be part of Fridays. It's free. You open at 11, and I talk about this on my show, but one thing while I got you, because I still am amazed sometimes the people that don't know about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3.
Oh, yeah.
It is one of the best Meat and 3 in town, and once people try it, they're always like, Gary, man, I'm glad I tried it.
Yeah.
It's not just a couple of meats and a couple of vegetables. You're full of them.
Yeah, it's a full Meat and 3. I think it's the best in town. Of course, I'm biased.
Yeah.
But you won't leave hungry. You might even have to take a to-go plate with you because you won't be able to finish it. And it's been great for us. Unfortunately, we won't do it today just because it's going to be crazy. So we'll have our game day menu out the rest of the weekend, just so we can streamline things and get food out fast for everybody. Which works on big weekends for us. But we'll be ready to go Monday morning at 11 a.m. with it.
All right, as far as this weekend, and all home football game weekends are big, but this is bigger. It's Alabama, Georgia. It's former President Trump coming to town. All the media outlets, just about everybody that's anybody. You're going to have a lot of them here doing their shows, ESPN and so forth on this afternoon. In terms of what you guys do, I guess it's, as I said, just kind of business as usual. You're not going to, you don't need any specials or anything to draw anybody in.
Luckily we don't. This is our 27th football season, so we've put some time into it. I feel like we've started to get a good following after all these years, so it's been fun. And it's great. And I told, some people last night that came down, they've been to Tuscaloosa the first time, they're like, biggest game ever. I'm like, it's the biggest game ever in the SEC this week.
That's right.
After last week, it's this season hadn't even begun yet.
That's right.
It is going to be it's going to be wild. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a season like no other, that we've ever seen. This week it could be a whole different leader. Next week's a whole different week.
Yeah.
We go to Vanderbilt next week, and watching Vanderbilt play last week, and it's, they had that game. They should have won that game. For the first time in, I think, 33 years, they would have beaten a top 10 team. So it's top to bottom. The SEC it's going to be fun to watch this year.
Yeah, a lot of biggest game evers in Tuscaloosa. We have every other week, it seems like.
We've been very fortunate with having those.
And one big thing that's happened in regards to these games are, you can only get the 100,000 in the stadium, but so many people now are coming to town for these big games, whether they have tickets or not.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them are tailgating, and a lot of them are coming here to Innisfree.
Yeah.
And watching. You got so many TVs. You got 2 separate bar areas. You got all kinds of outdoor seating with televisions. So a big part of these big weekends are people just coming and celebrating and watching all the games right here at Innisfree.
Yeah, they like to be in the midst of the crowds, which is great.
Yeah.
In Tuscaloosa, the city's done a great job with welcoming people here. Over the years, I remember years ago when, it wasn't that case. When we first opened, our first 10 years, we had some pretty brutal seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But we fought through them, and now we've gotten to a place that's, literally the kids that come to school here from California, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Texas, they're coming from all around the country because they want to come to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And what Alabama's built over here in the last 20 years has been fantastic. A lot that goes with, Dr. Witt when he started it, and now Dr. Bell, it's been fantastic. And we get to go along for the ride, So, when I graduated 18,000, and now we're over 40, which is crazy. Unbelievable. I don't think any school in the country's done something like what Alabama's done.
Trip, Innisfree has such a reputation. Have you put in a request with former President Trump to come by and?
No, I'll tell you what, these traffic patterns this weekend and, it's going to be, tomorrow's going to be wild, I laugh because I'm like, I don't think he needs any votes in the state of Alabama, but, when you want to come see Alabama, Georgia, it's the battle of the old school and the new school elites in the SEC. And so it's fun,
All right, lastly, we're opening at 11. As you said, no Lucky Lunch meeting 3 today because you got the game day menu because of the crowds that are coming in. When to win today, and then when are you back open tomorrow?
11 a.m. and we close down at 2:30 tonight, and then tomorrow we open up 11 a.m. to 1:30 Saturday, and it's going to be wild. It'll be fun, and the weather's going to be, it'll be the best 2 weather time of year probably. And it's great football. I mean, today was Saturday morning. I was like, it's game day. This is going to be great.
I walked out the door and I'm like, I'm invigorated.
A little bite in the air, and I mean, when that's it, that's when SEC football starts.
All right, folks, you heard it from Trip Rogers. Innisfree's ready to go. We're going to be open at 11. Like I said, I've had some people texting with me. Can't start serving until 11, but if you want to come by and hang out side door, if you want to slide in and hang out with me for a few before we get open, you're more than welcome to do that. Appreciate it, Trip.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Gary.
All right, man. All right,
Roll
we're
Tide
live at Innisfree Irish Pub Fridays at the Free. Remember, Wyatt Fulton will be here for T-Town Sports Daily right after my show, and as Tripp said, they've got other shows coming in. I know Mick Gillespie and Jake Coker are going to be here, and then ESPN Radio this afternoon. Again, when there's a big game, people want to be at Innisfree, and the great news is if you live here, all you got to do is come hang out with us. All right, let me check the time here. I got my phone on charge. It's 10:12. Phone lines are open on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904. You're more than welcome to give us a call if you want to and get involved in the show. We've got Brett Pritchard coming up at 10:30 with the Auburn Report. And remember as well, at 10:30, our Bama football trivia presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. We're going to be giving away that national championship print between Alabama and Georgia in the Tua 2nd and 26 by Greg Gamble. It's absolutely gorgeous, so get involved with that. All right, let's go ahead and take our break, and when we come back on the other side, as I said, wide open for phone calls, 205-342-9904. And
or Town Square Media Tuscaloosa radio websites. Fill out the Advertise Here form. Put the power of Town Square Media to work for your business.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partly sunny and windy today. A small chance of a shower this afternoon or tonight. The high today 74, tonight's low 63. For tomorrow, a dry day, partly sunny, the high 78. Sunday, the sky mostly sunny, the high 81. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide football.
Alabama touchdown.
Only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
10:17, welcome back to the Gary Harris Show, live here at Innisfree Irish Pub in Tuscaloosa, Fridays at the Free, and they're going to be opening up at 11 a.m. as you heard Tripp say. No Lucky Lunch meet and 3 today. They're on their game day menu because there's going to be so many people in here, but still plenty of food available, plenty of great cocktails, all types of beers. So 11 a.m. they're ready. We got Wyatt Fulton coming up right after my show with T-Town Sports Daily. They're going to have some other shows in here, including ESPN Radio this afternoon. And so this is the place to be in Tuscaloosa for this Friday here at Innisfree Irish Pub. All right, let's get into some other games in the SEC. And again, I'll be making my point spread predictions. But we're going to talk about Auburn and Oklahoma with Brett Pritchard in the next segment. Obviously, Georgia-Alabama is the marquee game. But this Kentucky and Ole Miss game is interesting because Ole Miss has just run roughshod over everybody they've played so far this season. I mean, they have been they've been a juggernaut so far, and it's just really this is their first opportunity to be tested. Kentucky, we saw them at home get steamrolled by South Carolina, and then we saw them the next week give Georgia all they could handle. Now they're on the road in Oxford tomorrow morning against Ole Miss. And this is an opportunity to see Ole Miss against an opponent that at least defensively, the Kentucky defense can challenge this Ole Miss offense because really they haven't been challenged very much this season. Now, I think Ole Miss is the real deal. And what I mean when I say that is I think they're a legitimate playoff contender. I think they're a football team that has a chance to win a lot of games. But I haven't seen them against an SEC team yet. I think they're going to wind up winning this game over Kentucky. I'll give my point spread prediction later. I think they're going to wind up winning it by double digits. And it's going to be the next step for Ole Miss because they not only want to make it into the playoff, I think Ole Miss is a team that believes they can win the SEC championship. They've never even been to Atlanta. Ole Miss has never been to an SEC championship game. But I think they have a team this year that can get there and have a chance to win it. Arkansas at A&M, another very interesting game when you look at the fact that this game's played in Arlington every year at AT&T Stadium, Jerry World, if you will. And it usually is a close game. This is a big game for these two teams. Both are off to good starts in the SEC. Arkansas coming off that road win at Auburn a couple weeks ago. A&M won at Florida. The winner of this game is going to be 2-0 in the conference and making some hay. So this is a big game. I think this is a game that can go down to the wire. Obviously, number one, Texas, as I talked about earlier in the show, Mississippi State, if you will, is the worst team in this conference this year so far, in my opinion. I mean, they are just bad in every area. And now their quarterback's out. This is going to be a blowout. I think that Texas is the real deal. Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, to me, Tennessee as well, are 5 teams, all that have the potential to win the national championship. I still don't look at Missouri as a national championship caliber team. I just don't. But all 5 of those other teams, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, have good enough rosters that if things go their way, they're going to have a chance to win the national championship. So I obviously think Texas is here. When I get to my point spread predictions, I'll go into more in depth on these games. But for LSU, one thing about South Alabama can score now. They put 87 on Northwestern State, and I know Northwestern State isn't a good barometer. But then they went into Boone, North Carolina a week ago, Thursday night, and beat a Appalachian State team that is a good team at their place. And they're a team that I'll tell you this about Appalachian State. When you play at their place, that's not an easy place to play, and South Alabama blew them out. I think it was 42-14. South Alabama can score. LSU obviously is a big favorite, 21 points in this game, but you better look at South Alabama as a team that if they go in there and get their offense rolling, they can hang in there with LSU. All right, Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. We're open for phone calls, 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904 is the number if you want to give us a call. We're wide open in this segment. And then in the next segment, as I said, Bama football trivia presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. We're going to be giving away that Crimson National Championship print from, again, my phone is on charge, so I'm having to reach for it. And plus, it's not as big. I got the print in my car, but that beautiful national championship print, Crimson comeback, 2017 national champions, Alabama 26, Georgia 23 in overtime, full size, ready for framing. We're going to be giving that away in the next segment in our Bama football trivia contest. And by the way, if you're wanting to look your best, gentlemen, get by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery, University Mall, and also check out that one-of-a-kind Alabama football memorabilia collection with Tom and the guys there at T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. All right, Alabama, Georgia. When you're looking at Alabama and Georgia, there's a lot of storylines in this game. Clearly, Jalen Milroe, what he was able to do last year as the architect of Alabama's upset win over Georgia in the SEC championship game, and then some comments that he made after the game in regards to they didn't want to play for 4 quarters, talking about Georgia. Georgia remembers that. That Georgia defense is good. Make no mistake. I think they're going to get a defensive lineman or 2 back as well this week. They're good. They haven't given up a touchdown. Offensively, I've said this week, I don't think Georgia is nearly as explosive as they have been. Brock Bowers was one of the best tight ends in the history of college football. He's now with the Raiders. Lai McConkey was a dynamic wide receiver. He's with the Chargers. And when you look at this Georgia team, 13 points at Kentucky. Very fortunate to win that game. I don't know if they're explosive or not. And I don't know that if this game gets into the 30s that they can keep up. I think for Georgia, they've got to keep it in the 20s to have a chance to win this game. I think Alabama is much more explosive on offense than Georgia is. And I think Alabama has more weapons on offense than Georgia does. Now, Is Alabama's defense as good as Georgia's defense? Right now, if you just ask me that question, Gary, who has a better defense? I think Georgia has a better defense. And I think Alabama has a really good defense, but I don't know that they're at Georgia's level. Now, they got a chance to prove me wrong tomorrow night. But I think Georgia's defense right now is still on all three levels, up front, linebacking core, and in the back end, better than Alabama. So I give the edge on offense to Alabama. I give the edge on defense to Georgia. I think the special teams probably at this point a little bit of a wash. I know some people are concerned about Graham Nicholson. Hasn't had to try to kick many field goals. He missed that field goal at Wisconsin, but he hit it well. It was just a little bit right. Kalen DeVore said after the game they might have misjudged the win on that one. I think he's going to be fine for field goals. And the punter, Burnip, has been phenomenal. Georgia always has good special teams. So, you know, it's two great teams playing a big football game. It's probably going to come down to what these games always come down to. Who wins the turnover battle, okay? Who does better with the penalties? Who doesn't have the key critical mistake? Let's say it's a one-possession game in the fourth quarter and you've got a 3rd and 4 and you run a little slant and somebody drops the ball. Or you run a screen and you don't get it blocked and you have to punt the football back over. So it's going to come down to a few plays at the end of the game. And I think Alabama's going to make those plays. As I said, I've already been on record as saying I think Alabama's going to win the game 27-17. So we're going to get out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline and get an update from my buddy Robbie Glenn over at the Striker Strong Golf Tournament at Bent Brook. What a day. Hey, Robbie, good morning.
Well, good morning, Gary. What's going on, buddy?
Well, I'm here at Fridays at the Free. What's going on over there at Bent Brook, man? How's everything off and running with Striker Strong? Going well?
Oh, it's going great. Very stressful, you know, with the weather, and then everything worked out. We got off. We had about a 30-minute delay, but we got off with 216 golfers for the morning round, and we still have another 200 or 180 for the second round. So right now everyone's going smooth. All the vendors are out here. Food, drinks. Stretch Zone is out here stretching all the golfers before they hit. It's going good. A lot of Chris Anderson, Lamont Russell, Brian Deal, Trent Richardson, Marcel Darius, all them come out, and Jake Coker and Tyler Watts signed a bunch of stuff. So it's been good. Wish you could have been out here, but I understand Innisfree is the place to be on Friday, man. Meeting 3 and on Friday before a game is going to be awesome.
Hey, golf course wise, because I know they did get some rain earlier this week. I imagine the golf course is in pretty good shape, though, huh?
It is in great shape. It is not cart path only. They are driving. Unfortunately, you know how some of these golf tournaments get. These guys are driving almost up on the green. I'm having to get on them, but they're all over the course. But it's great. I mean, it can't ask for a better day. The wind's not as bad. It's not hot. It's great. So I'll get a bunch of pictures and send them to you.
Yeah, please do. And since, I can't be there, we'll have a TV crew coming out there later to give you a little bit of coverage. In terms of fans, if they want to, come out and hang out at Bent Brook and meet some of these former players and check out the golf, they're welcome to do so, right?
Yeah, they can come out. I have a lot of companies that are just giving complimentary cigars and beverages, food. So, yeah, come out and you can see some of these athletes and also get involved with Striker Strong and see what our mission is and helping other kids. We started this is the 6th annual, and it is just getting bigger and bigger. We started with, 200 golfers or 160, and now we're up to, like I said, we're 350 strong. So just trying to help as much as we can local from Tuscaloosa to Birmingham and anywhere we can, kids with special needs, and any way we can help.
Well, that's amazing, and that is the bottom line. The bottom line is all this is for StrikerStrong.org. So go by and see Robbie and the folks there at Bent Brook and the great golf tournament. But when you're there, find out more about StrikerStrong.org and support if you can. But it's going to be a great day all day until early this evening at Bent Brook Golf Course with the annual Striker Strong Golf Tournament. Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you, Gary. Roll Tide.
All right, we'll talk soon. 10:28 here on the Gary Harris Show. All right, we're going to take our time out from Innisfree Irish Pub. They're opening at 11. Get on by and see us. When we come back on the other side, we're going to visit with Brett Pritchard with the Auburn Report, also our Bama football trivia contest, courtesy of T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery University Mall. Your chance to win this beautiful national championship print, Alabama 26, Georgia 23.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, Tax Pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
Bring you 100% satisfaction and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs. 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:32. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. We're going to get to the Auburn report with my friend Brett Pritchard from the Auburn Blitz. But also it is time for Bama football trivia presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. And as I said, we are playing for that beautiful full-size Greg Gamble print Crimson comeback. 2017 national champions, Alabama 26, Georgia 23 in overtime. You've got Tua, you got Devontae in the upper left and right corners, throwing the ball and making the catch, Saban with the trophy, then some other key players from that game on this gorgeous print. All right, let me go ahead and give you the trivia question again. You're going to call in at 205-342-9904, or I'll check my socials. If you shoot me a message on social and you're right, I'll get you qualified, and then we'll get all our qualifiers. If you're the sixth qualifier, you're sixth, so forth and so on. At the end of the show, we'll have that roulette wheel drawing and for the winner, and we'll get you your print. All right, here is the question. Obviously, with Alabama playing Georgia, I wanted to do a Alabama-Georgia themed question. 1994 was one of the best games ever between these two teams. At Bryant-Denny Stadium, Georgia jumped out on top, but Alabama came back and won a thriller, 29-28. The two quarterbacks in that game combined for nearly 700 yards and 6 touchdowns in that game. The question is, who were the two starting quarterbacks when Alabama beat Georgia 29-28 in 1994 at Bryant-Denny Stadium? Who was the starting quarterback for Georgia, and who was the starting quarterback for Alabama in that memorable game? Again, 1994, Alabama 29, Georgia 28. Who was the starting quarterback for Georgia? Who was the starting quarterback for Alabama? 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904. Chase is going to be answering the phones during this entire segment, and then we'll have to shut it down. All right, having said that, let me get on with my friend Brett Pritchard now. Hey, good morning, Brett. How are you?
I'm good, Gary. How are you, buddy?
Doing well, my friend, over here at Industry Irish Pub, getting ready for a mega weekend and a big weekend down at Auburn, too, with Oklahoma coming in. A couple of teams, Oklahoma and Auburn, both lost their SEC openers at home. And now you've got two teams that I thought both played really good defense last week. Offensively, quarterback issues with both of these teams. Let's just cut to the chase. I know you cover Auburn. I've talked to some people down there in Auburn this week who just say this is a game for Freeze that he needs to get. He needs to win this one. Otherwise, you're 2-3 after a 5-game homestand, 0-2 in the SEC, going on the road the month of October. How big is this game for Auburn?
Well, I think you just summed it up. It is that big. And, they all should be big, but when you paint yourself into a corner like this, it's a must win. And, you're in this 5-game home stretch, and you and I have been breaking this schedule down for about 2 months, all the way a month prior to the start of the season. And, we've done every hypothetical situation, but now we've played 4 games, and Auburn's 2-2, and they need this one to get above 500 and to get a win in the SEC. And, when you look at it, Gary, they had their opportunities in 2 games here that they let get away, and the turnover bug. I really don't even know how to describe what I've seen or what any Auburn person's seen the first 4 weeks of all these turnovers. And you're not going to beat anybody doing that. And now you're back to, it seems like, musical quarterbacks again. I definitely think Peyton Thorne will get the start. But again, you benched him and you brought Hank Brown in, and he started the New Mexico game. And again, it looked good. I said that on your show. I said he was, did what everybody wanted to see out of him. He made his reads, and his checks were good. And didn't make any mistakes and, made some pretty good throws during that game. But then he faced an SEC defense, and obviously he wasn't ready for it. And, they put Peyton Thorne in, and Peyton, I thought, gave Auburn a chance there in the second half and threw a couple nice passes to Malcolm Simmons and KLS. But, again, turnovers at the end of the day were just too much to overcome. And, again, they've got to figure out how to cut this down. And 10 out of 17 games now for Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Auburn's had multiple turnovers, and that's just not winning football.
No, it's not. And that's what's so frustrating. I know because Auburn has moved the football on offense, and they've, had success, but the turnovers are killer. I mean, you can't be near the bottom in turnovers and expect to win games. And you felt that and heard that frustration from Hugh Freeze. And I want to get to his comments with you, Brett, and how that was received by fan bases of other schools, how it's received. He's whining, he's crying, he's blaming other people. But how do the Auburn people see it when Freeze comes out and says, we got to find a quarterback that's not going to throw it to the other team. We got to find running backs that aren't going to drop it. Then he kind of doubles down on Monday and says, we should have won the game against Cal and Arkansas. Then Monday night on his radio show even says more. If we played Arkansas 9 more times, we beat them 9 out of 9. And no disrespect, and when you tell somebody no disrespect or no offense intended, you're about to offend or disrespect somebody. Well, how are the Auburn people taking those comments? Are they saying that, Freeze, you need to take more accountability and it is what it is, or do they agree that, hey man, Auburn should have won those games?
I think you can look at it a bunch of different ways. I think the comment that I had the biggest issue with is if we play them 9 more times, we win. At that point, you really that doesn't sound very attractive to anybody. And you played the game, you lost. You move on at that point. But I think he was okay saying that you got to find guys that are willing to hang on to the football and willing to not make mistakes throwing the football. I think that's a challenge. It can be viewed as throwing players under the bus, but he didn't name anybody particular. He's just saying, look, if we're to do what we need to do as a football team, we got to correct that. And if we don't correct that, it doesn't matter who's on the field. We're not going to win any football games. So I know the coach's comments can be misconstrued, and they can be taken out of context and all that. And I just think right now he's trying to issue a challenge that they need to clean up their play on the field, because let's be honest, you take the turnovers away or just minimize the turnovers, Auburn probably is 4-0, and you and I are having a different conversation right here. Now, I'm not saying Auburn would have won those games going away, but you probably would have squeaked the win out against Cal and probably won the game against Arkansas maybe by 3 or 7 or maybe even 10. But the bottom line is turnovers are part of the game. They're a big part of the game. And in those 2 football games against Cal and Arkansas, Auburn has given away 10 possessions. And so to really find a silver lining in all this, look at how this defense has played. They lost a 10-point game and they lost a 7-point game when the offense turned the ball over 10 times. So, there's positives to build on. If Auburn can clean things up, they can get back on the right track.
Brett, I want to ask you about where Freeze is at right now, because I heard a national analyst earlier this week, and I thought he summed it up pretty well, to be honest with you. He said, listen, Auburn took a chance on Hugh Freeze when some other schools would not have, because of the way his reputation was tarnished at Ole Miss, even though he had rebounded at Liberty. And they did that because they believe he's a winner, and they brought him in here to win. And if you're not going to win, and listen, all coaches, the pressure's ramped up with the kind of money they're making. Players too now. This is business. If it goes south this season, as we don't know. I mean, if Auburn bounces back and wins tomorrow, I think the whole season is going to feel different. If they lose, though, you're going to go into October with, could there be rumblings if this goes south about Freeze's job security going forward?
Well, yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, and I hate to say it that way, but you're right. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting Auburn to compete for a championship this year, but they expected Auburn to show improvement. And right now, Auburn hasn't shown improvement. And again, now, Hugh Freeze can't go out there and hold on to football as you're running into the end zone to tie the football game up. You gotta be better than that. He can't go out there and catch a pass for a receiver, or he can't go out there and make a block for an offensive lineman. But again, at the end of the day, it all comes back to him, because he's the head coach and he's the person in charge of making sure the players are coached up to playing to their best ability every week. So, I don't want to go down the path of talking about changing coaches. I think he inherited a mess. We've been down this road a bunch. Gary, you and I have talked about it. Auburn's still not there roster-wise, but it doesn't excuse poor play on the field. You can still not be where you need to be roster-wise, but you can go out and play, clean football. And if the team's got better players than you, or they outmatch you, then, it is what it is. You tip your hat and say, we're working to get our roster up to where it needs to be. But I think Auburn fans are just disappointed that the level of play has been subpar to this point. Outside of the Alabama A&M game, which you really can't count, against better competition, Auburn has not performed well. Now, again, I think defensively, they've gotten better. They're not perfect either, but if you had to grade one side of the ball better than the other, it's definitely the defense, because the defense has given Auburn a chance to win every one of these games. Again, we knew there were question marks on offense. Auburn has a good running back room, and we haven't really seen them used. And I think a lot of people are frustrated with that. Maybe Auburn's not utilizing their strength. So, look, I don't want to go down that road of saying who's in jobs in jeopardy or whatever. I want Heath Reed to work out. I want it to get better, but it's going to have to start showing on the field.
Well, you and I know how this deal works, though. You win tomorrow over, and we'll get into Oklahoma and what they're dealing with. But if you win that game tomorrow, all of a sudden it's a whole different vibe. That's just the way it works. You get a win. You're 1-1 in the SEC, 3-2. You got a little momentum. It will be. This segment will be different next week. It'll be positive. If they lose that game, like we've already alluded to, and it's going to be, it's going to be rough. From Oklahoma standpoint, they got, an indoctrination in the SEC at home against Tennessee. They've got a brand new quarterback, a true freshman. They've got, I don't know what's going on with wide receivers. Brett, maybe you have more info than I do. Like 5 of them aren't playing, and nobody's saying why. I don't really get it. But if you're Auburn, the name Oklahoma carries a lot of clout. But again, you're at home. I mean, you got to figure you're good enough to win this game, right?
Well, you would think. I mean, it's a 2.5-point spread for Oklahoma. This is not a very good Oklahoma team. I mean, Brent Venables got a bunch of question marks around him as well. I don't think the Oklahoma fan base is overly sold on him. Tennessee just rolled into town, and I think a lot of Oklahoma fans were thinking, why is Josh Heupel on another sideline? Why isn't he on our sideline? So it was an ugly loss. Now they bring Hawkins in, and of course he's going to start against Auburn. And I thought he played pretty well there in the second half and kind of helped Oklahoma maybe try to get back in that game a little bit. But, Tennessee's a good football team, and I think they've kind of shown that they've separated themselves a little bit and trying to move up into that upper echelon of the conference. But Oklahoma's sitting in the same situation. If you look at their schedule, man, you talk about brutal for the rest of the way out. And they're looking at this game as a big-time opportunity for them to get a win. And if they lose this game, I think the Heat turned up tremendously on Brent Venables as well. So I remember a game several years ago when Wes Miles and Gus Malzahn were faced off against one another, and everybody termed that game loser leave town. And Auburn made a play, or LSU threw the ball in the end zone at the very end, but go back and look at it, they didn't get the snap off in time. They caught the pass, and if it would have stood, LSU would have won the game, and they didn't. And then, of course, a couple of weeks later, Les Miles was fired, and so it held true. And I'm not saying one of these two coaches, if they lose this game, are going to get fired, but it just feels similar to that. The urgency on both sides, that both of these teams really need a win to try to get things turned around.
All right, so the magic question, Brett, who do you like tomorrow?
I'm gonna go positive. I'm gonna say, Auburn. I mean, surely Auburn can't turn it over 5 times again, right? They've done it twice this year. You hope not. Maybe play a little bit cleaner. Maybe Peyton Thorne is rejuvenated at quarterback and answers the challenge. And Oklahoma's got a great defense. I'll give them that. Now they are very stout on the defensive side, but Auburn's played good defenses in Alabama and Georgia the last couple of years and have been right there with a chance to win in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I think Auburn feels the urgency of this, and I think they squeak out a 24-21 win.
Who do you like in the Alabama-Georgia game?
I like Alabama at home, and I've said that all week. I just think, Kirby Smart, he hasn't been able to master the riddle of Alabama. And Georgia, I'm a little skeptical after what I saw with them on the road against Kentucky. Now, again, you can't get sucked in to 1 week versus the other. I know Georgia will come in ready to play, but, the key is going to be Jalen Milroe. In the Texas game last year, in the Michigan game, and some of these games that high-stakes games, Jalen Milroe hasn't been the best. And, I think if Jalen Milroe plays his game, I think Alabama will win at home. I just think they understand the challenge. They relish the opportunity for Georgia to come in there and to get another win over them.
All right, buddy. It's going to be another big weekend of college football in the SEC. I had Tripp on, the owner of Innisfree, earlier, and he was like, yeah, they're calling this the biggest game ever, and I'm like, we both were like, in the SEC, the biggest game ever comes about every 2 or 3 weeks, it seems like. But hey, man, I know you got the Auburn Blitz coming up at noon. What do you got on tap?
Yeah, we're actually on location today too in Auburn, Pepper Tree Steaks and Wine. So get everybody to come out and hang out with us during the show. We'll have Coach Chad Pruitt on, assistant coach for the basketball team, and we're going to have a lot of other guests coming through. So excited about that. So catch us live at noon.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, 10:48 here on the Gary Harris Show live at Innisfree Irish Pub. Fridays at the Free. We're getting cranked up for a mega weekend, and we're going to shut down the phone lines now. We're going to have all our qualifiers wrapped up. I got a couple maybe more came in on social media that I'll get to Chase. But when we come back on the other side, our final segment, my SEC point spread predictions, also our Bama football trivia contest answer, and we'll roll that electronic roulette wheel for a winner. And then we'll get you ready for Wyatt for T-Town Sports Daily. All right, stay with us. We're coming back to Innisfree Irish Pub for the final segment of the Gary Harris Show right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow truck, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the
doors. It's the Tide Tailgate Show on 95.3 The Bear and Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230. Roll Tide.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Partly sunny and windy today. A small chance of a shower this afternoon or tonight. The high today 74, tonight's low 63. For tomorrow, a dry day, partly sunny, the high 78. Sunday, the sky mostly sunny, the high 81. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9. For more coverage of Alabama football, visit us at Tide100.9.com or download the free Tide 100.9 app.
The Crimson Tide will not be denied.
All right, here we go. Final segment live from Innisfree Irish Pub, the Gary Harris Show. It's 10:51. Been a great show this morning. Glad you're with us. All right, I'm going to do my point spread predictions, SEC point spread predictions, and then we're going to do the trivia contest and wrap it up. So let me give you the numbers again for so far this season. I'm 22-19-1. Again, these are all SEC games. I'm not cherry picking games. I'm doing them all. I went 8-1 the first week, then 3-6-1, 5-8, and last week 6-4. 6 games this week to pick. 5 of them are SEC versus SEC, and then LSU hosts South Alabama. So let's get to it. I've had several people ask me, again, I tell this is for entertainment purposes only, but I've had several people ask me about, well, where do you get your lines? What are you using? Hey, listen, I got a lot going on. I usually do the lines on Thursday night, and I've been getting them off ESPN.com. If that differs from your line, I'm sorry. I can't help it. I don't, and I know some of these lines have changed by this morning. Wyatt was telling me the Alabama lines even moved more. But this was from ESPN last night, I guess after my 10 o'clock sportscast, so it would have been about 11 at night. So that's what I'm going with. All right, we'll start with, we'll save the big one for last. With Alabama and Georgia. Oklahoma and Auburn, this is what I had last night. It was pick'em. It was even on ESPN. I don't know what it is this morning, but Oklahoma has a lot of wide receivers out. Both these teams have had good defensive teams. Auburn actually has been more explosive on offense than Oklahoma by a lot. But having said that, Auburn's desperate. I'm not saying Oklahoma isn't, but this game's at Jordan-Hare. Listen, I've been picking Auburn a lot, and they've bitten me in the rear end every time. I think Auburn wins this game tomorrow. I've got Auburn winning at home against Oklahoma, so I've got Auburn even or pick them against Oklahoma. Kentucky at Ole Miss. Again, Ole Miss is going to be tested in a different way. They have run roughshod over every opponent. Kentucky's defense is really good, but Ole Miss is at home and they're on a mission. They're laying 16. I'm sorry. I think Ole Miss is going to cover this. I know a lot of people saying take Kentucky in that defense. I also saw Kentucky's defense against South Carolina. And they're getting a lot of credit for that one game they played against Georgia. I'm taking Ole Miss minus the 16. All right, A&M and Arkansas in Arlington at AT&T Stadium. A&M's a 5.5-point favorite. I am going to just say this game goes down the wire. I think Texas A&M is going to win the game. But I think it's going to go down the wire. I'm going to take the points here. I'm going to take Arkansas plus the 5.5. Mississippi State at Texas. This is a big line for an SEC game, but Mississippi State's brutal. Now they're starting a new quarterback. 37.5 the line. I'm taking Texas minus the 37.5. And South Alabama at LSU. LSU's laying 21, and this sounds crazy, but I'm taking the points here. I think South Alabama can score, and I think they'll score on LSU, and I think they'll keep it within the number. And finally, Georgia at Alabama. When I locked this in on ESPN.com last night, it was a 1-point line. Alabama getting one, so that's what I'm going with. I'm picking them to win outright anyway, so it wouldn't matter if it was a pick 'em or they were laying 1 or 2 points. I got them winning by 10, 27-17. I got Alabama getting it done against Georgia. All right, our trivia question was, who were the 2 starting quarterbacks in that shootout back in 1994 at Bryant-Denny Stadium between Alabama and Georgia? Alabama rallied to win 29-28. Alabama starting quarterback threw for 396 yards and 2 touchdowns. Georgia starting quarterback threw for 263 yards and 4 touchdowns and became the leading passer in the SEC history at that time. Those 2 quarterbacks were Eric Zier for Georgia and Jay Barker for Alabama. So they combined for nearly 700 yards of passing offense and 6 touchdowns. So that's the answer. Chase, how many qualifiers did we wind up with?
Man, we had a whopping 30, man. 30
qualifiers today. Wow. That's awesome.
Good job, guys.
That's awesome. All right. So if you're qualified, you got a number next to your name in the order in which you qualified, 1 through 30. Go ahead and spin that electronic roulette wheel and see where it lands. Chase.
Winner is number 8, Sydney.
Sydney, number 8. And congratulations to you. You're going to love this print. It is absolutely gorgeous. All right, Sydney, Chase has got your info. He'll be getting it to me, and I'll be getting in touch with you. Probably won't be this weekend because I got a little bit going on. But first of next week, I'll get in touch with you, Sydney. Congratulations. You're going to love this print. We'll make arrangements for you to pick it up. So congratulations to Sydney. Caller number 8, qualifier number 8. She is going to win the Crimson Comeback National Championship print, Alabama versus Georgia. All right, perfect timing. That's going to wrap it up for the show. Love being here at Innisfree. Also want to thank all my great sponsors that make the show possible. And come on out and join us. They're opening. The doors are open, and people are already filing in here. We had a couple people come by and listen to some of the show. Wyatt's going to take over for T-Town Sports Daily. Going all day long here at Innisfree, man. It is going to be hopping. It's going to be jumping with our shows Friday at the Free. A couple other shows are coming in. ESPN Radio is going to be here this afternoon. So get by Innisfree Irish Pub. All right, so for Chase, I'm Gary. Stay tuned for T-Town Sports Daily live from Innisfree. Have a great weekend. Catch me on TV tonight with the local sports on WVOA 23. And for Football Friday tonight, 1 hour high school football show, 10:30 on WVOA 23. I know we're still off the air in a lot of places, but you can download the app. Also, WVOA23.com. T-Town Sports Daily is coming up next. Have a great day and a great weekend, everybody. Roll Tide.
Tax Pros. Leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, Tax Pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.